showrunner and executive producer Ian Goldberg. Executive producer and legendary director in the Walking Dead universe, Michael Satrazemis is here. Madison Clark, Kim Dickens. June, also known as Jenna Elfman. And Sherry, aka Christine Evangelista. Welcome everyone, welcome. Welcome to WonderCon 2023. Hello. Hello. All right, so Ian Goldberg, let's start with you. What can these kind folks expect for season 8? First of all, season 8, how did that feels surreal.
It does feel surreal. It's amazing to be making a season 8 of this show, and only because I guess everybody at this point knows this will be our final season. Thank you so much. You are the best fans in the world, and make this show for you. And we are so honored that we've been able to tell these stories for such a long time, and we're excited to share this final season with you.
So what can viewers expect in this final season? Where are we? How, what's some of the setting?
Well, if you remember at the end of season 7, Morgan and Madison made a pact, an unlikely alliance where they are going to go into Padre and get baby Mo out. And of course, the other thing that was teased was the fate of everyone else who fled the nuclear landscape. Strand's tower was burning, and everybody wound up on those rafts. And so we are going to be picking up those stories in season 8. And one of the things that we're going to be seeing a lot of is life inside of Padre. It's something we've been teasing since season 7, and we really wanted to lean into what does life look like inside this place we've heard so much about, and we're going to do it in a conceptual way that you will see when you see it, that we're actually going to be jumping forward in time 7 years. So when we find our characters, a lot of time has passed, and we're going to see how they're navigating their new realities, whether that's inside, outside of Padre. It's a whole new ballgame.
They've had a time, like literal double apocalypse, like zombie apocalypse and a nuclear apocalypse, and then they're jumping forward in time also.
I hate to say it, but it doesn't get any easier.
Oh, has it become a sitcom in season 8? Oh, we have some laughs. Michael Satrazemis, who is literally, like, The Walking Dead is not The Walking Dead without Michael Satrazemis. This guy is not only one of the coolest, sweetest people you could ever meet, but responsible for so many of your favorite things and moments within the Walking Dead universe. And it's so exciting that you directed this episode. I know you shot in Savannah. Can you talk about this premiere episode that we're later in the
You're very welcome. Thank you. Because without you guys, I wouldn't be living my dream. That's the truth, for sure. You fueled the last over a decade of my life, and I am truly living my dream because of you. So thank you. Listen, the season 8, no shows go this long, so getting the opportunity in a season 8 and the last season to kind of change the entire palette and landscape that we shoot on by moving to Savannah and just recreating and reinventing kind of the difficulties of the apocalypse and the palette and the look of everything, and then making the 7-year time jump was really special. I mean, it's a very, very special season. It's a very special episode. The season, in the 12 episodes that it shoots, moves very, very quickly, and I feel like we found a really beautiful way to end it, and I'm so happy to have been a part of that. Most shows don't have this kind of completion, so it's elegant and beautiful. It's devastating and filled with humanity, all the amazing attributes the apocalypse needs. But the pilot is you're gonna love it. You are. I love it.
I was so excited at the end of last season for Madison's return. I mean, Kim is amazing, and over the years we've gotten to become pals, and I so appreciate it because I've just been a fan of your work for so long, and to see Madison come back. Can you talk a little bit about your experience of returning to the apocalypse, and what did you miss about it? Was there stuff you didn't miss about it? Like, what's it been like for you?
It's been really incredible to get to come back, and especially to get to come back and finish it. And I do want to thank Ian and Andrew for bringing me back. I never thought it would happen. I'm so grateful it happened. I think we just found the right way to do it in the right time, and it felt really poetic and beautiful. And I was honored to feel like I could be a part of taking it across the finish line with what the show had become. So it was really exciting. And what I missed about it was pretty much everything. It's the greatest show to work on. The cast and crew, nobody works harder than them. No one's more passionate. It becomes this beautiful family. Obviously, you've heard that before, but it does. Everybody's aiming for the fence together and helping each other get there, and I missed that. So it was fun to be back for that. I love all the action stunts, so that's always fun to do. What did I not miss? Being in water in the middle of the night. Alligators, turns out. I miss those.
I don't ever hear anyone go, I really miss alligators. Like, no one, I don't think anyone's ever said I really miss alligators. Maybe they have. So, just refreshing our memory a little bit, returning at the end of season 7 was obviously a big, wonderful surprise for everyone, but can you talk about a little bit about the reason for Madison's return and what she's hoping to accomplish with Padre moving forward?
You mean after the end of season 7?
Yes.
Yeah, she turns...
why she came back, what's she doing going into the season 8?
Well, she sort of turned the tables on what she was doing with Padre, and she sort of saw the light, I guess, by meeting Morgan, and made a decision to go back and get Mo. And so that's where we left them. That's kind of all I can say, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
Did she feel like the same Madison to you, or did you approach her differently in this iteration?
In season 8?
Yeah.
She's a little bit different.
Yeah. And is that part of what was exciting about coming back? It's like, well, it is Madison, but there's this whole other dimension to her that we haven't seen before.
Yeah, that was really exciting for me. I mean, it's also harder. It's like, oh God, I've got to find this new sort of angle, this new level to her, and you really sort of push me there, and especially in 801, those first scenes that we can't talk about. But
Anytime Lenny James and Kim Dickens are in a scene together, it is riveting and amazing and special. And I think you're a pro, and you started it and came straight in and landed it immediately. So,
thank you.
Jenna Elfman June, first of all, has had multiple names, but we've settled on June. And June has evolved so much since, in really just 4 seasons, really. I think season 4 was when you came on board. Can you talk about her character evolution? How do you see it after 4 years?
I love getting to play all the evolutions. I don't think people go through these heavy-duty experiences in life. Any of us, like your friends, your family, yourselves, when you go through very heavy trauma, you're not the same person. And getting to explore someone who was so broken when we met her, finding love, what that healing process looked like, how it inflated her soul, to then lose him. And when you have loss after loss, each loss kind of triggers all the earlier ones in an avalanche. And so to watch her, always try and stay connected to her purpose to help. That is her North Star, and that is what keeps her sane, or that's how she orients herself. And I have loved, and I'm full of gratitude for Ian and Andrew writing stories where I can change and evolve and sink my teeth into all the nuance and evolution of a character, and with Mikey's guidance, always giving me confidence to explore and confidence to bear all my vulnerabilities, and it's been really awesome.
Was this last season kind of surreal for you from that standpoint?
You know, I couldn't even think about it as the last season until I actually finished the show, because it's so all-consuming of your bandwidth, and I loved what the time jump brought in terms of we're arriving into this story with 7 years more experience under our belts, good and bad. And we are finding these characters at a point of, I have a little analogy that's, when I was a teenager, I went on a field trip to the beach, and I got myself into a situation in the ocean where wave after wave was crashing on me. And every time I'd come up to try to catch my breath, another one hit me and took me under, to the point I really only had about a half a breath left before I was going to not be breathing anymore. And no one had ever taught me to dive through the wave. I had never been taught that. So I was just getting hit by the wave, and about to lose my breath and sink in the ocean. And then someone in that last moment looked over and saw me and grabbed my hand and said, "Go through the wave." And I just started diving through the waves, and I was able to finally get the breath enough to make it to shore. To me, that's what season 8 feels like for June. She's on the last centimeter of air when we find her, and we find out what's happened, and the exploration of who lends their hand, who teaches her how to dive through the wave, and ultimately she has to dive through the wave. And I love that exploration of facing the trauma to go free.
Christina Evangelista, Sherry has also been through a lot. And she, moving forward into season 8. Well, first of all, it was backstage we were talking about, I said, are you done shooting? You go, yeah, we just finished like last week. And you said you had this really epic last day of shooting, like your last day of shooting sounded like.
It was an eventful, very eventful last day. It was a combination of earth, wind, and fire. we show up to work, and we're in the van ride together, and we're talking about how we're going to miss each other, and we're really sad, and it's raining, so it's really setting the scene. And we get to work, but it's raining continuously outside, but it's not wet enough. So they bring in these massive machines, and they're just dousing us in rain. And I'm talking like such hard pressure that I can't even open my eyes. Like, my underwear is wet. And we do that for maybe like 4 or 5 hours, and then right after that I run out of a burning building for the next few. So it was a very, yes, all yes.
I mean, that feels like a great way to wrap
It was pretty epic.
That
It was
show.
pretty epic. Those rain machines were powerful.
Well, the weather had forecasted for a bunch of rain, and instead of having to push or only shoot half of your day, we had to bring in the towers. So
Yep.
I was sorry.
It was like being power washed out of a series.
I think I lost a layer of skin.
Felt brutal.
Wanted to make sure you didn't miss us too much.
It's easier to say goodbye when you suffer.
Yeah, you don't ever want to feel bad. It shows that you're like, oh, glad that's over. But so where is Sherry at going into season 8? You know, obviously in as much as you can tell.
Yeah, season 8, I mean, it's a different time, in a very different environment, in a new community. And I think being a part of this community, there's a lot of a new set of heartless and impervious rules that need to be abided by. And in that, a lot of sacrifices are made. And I think the catalyst for both Sherry and Dwight to go to this new community was to make a safe environment for their family. And once they get there, they realize that it's very unsafe. And it's that, tale old time of the devil you know is worse than the devil you don't. And I think as the season goes on, it's this exploration of Sherry really regaining some strength to take a risk and to do what's best for her family.
I would love to. Oh, by the way, I want to have a huge hand also for Andrew Chambliss, who could not be here today. Just another. I was saying I feel like I've seen you a lot in the last few years, but most of it's just been on like Skype because we did Talking Dead virtually for so long. Seeing you in person it's just really nice to see. It's nice to see all of you in person. You're all here, right? This isn't just a weird project. Okay, great. This isn't AR or something. Ian, with Madison's return, how is that affecting the storyline moving forward? You know, obviously Kim teased a little bit about it, but you know, you said, hey, we are going to see more of the inner workings of Padre. But how does this character dynamic, especially you know, with Morgan and where he was at, how does that drive the story forward?
Well, I think for Madison, she is on a journey toward redemption. When we saw her at the end of season 7, we got a sense of everything she'd been through since she survived the stadium and what she endured under Padre's thumb, and now that she's coping with the sum total of all those actions, and she's crossed paths with Morgan, it's put her on this whole new trajectory. And the question is, you know, how is she going to be able to navigate that? And I think one of the things that was really important to Andrew and I when we started mapping out the season is we knew, we had the blessing to know this was going to be the final season. We were going to write the characters toward conclusions. But one of the most interesting things is we talked about conclusions and we also talked about beginnings. Because everything is about characters going on those journeys. Where did they start and where do they end up? And what you will see as you watch the season is that all of the characters are in some ways grappling with things that they have grappled with since their beginning of the journey on the show. You see it a bit in the trailer with Morgan and that sign for King County, and he's holding the gun that Rick gave him, and I think that, you know, it really is a full circle journey for all of our characters, and that's how we're going to see how far they've come when they're faced with a lot of ghosts and scars from their pasts that are rearing their heads in different ways.
And then for Michael, working with Ian and Andrew and sort of mapping out this final season, how do you even, is that a gargantuan task, trying to figure out like, oh, how do we wrap up, you know, 8 seasons of a show that, oh, by the way, is also part of this larger universe? Like, what kind of goes into how much anxiety, like, what are you doing to even think about this?
A lot of anxiety goes into a move, you know, to Savannah in a season 8. I mean, I think the one thing that makes it easier for me was that they were so far ahead in the writing, and you know, and Ian and Andrew had really mapped out a lot. So once we get into it really early before we're shooting, we can already sit and talk about the visuals and how we're going to separate different storylines out and within looks and the palette of everything. And you know, and then I can, once we've had our meeting, then I take the production designer, the cameraman, the location manager, and start saying that, you know, flipping through scene by scene of what we're going to look at and how we're going to kind of, you know, reshape the palette that we're going to tell the story on. And you know, I mean, as far as the journey to wrapping the show up, I haven't been a part of that other than Tales, but it was a 6-episode anthology, something this long. You don't think about it, put your head down and shoot it, you know. And I know that it's going to get quiet and silent at some point. And I'll think about the last 12 years of my life, including fear. But you know, until then, we're still making something special. I'm still present with the people that I love creating with, and that's what you do. You live for that moment till the very, very end, knowing that it'll get quiet and you'll curl into a small ball and cry for weeks.
Well, it is. It's such a significant part of everyone's lives who's involved. And but then also, you know, just knowing, obviously, as fans of television, we know as viewers the task of wrapping up a show, especially a show that's been on for a long period of time. Like, what storylines do you tie up? What storylines do you sort of just let the audience go, well, they'll just, you know, like, they'll figure, you know, the audience will kind of decide what that is, and like finding that balance between those two things.
Yeah, the one thing that I feel very lucky and privileged to be a part of is the way that Ian and Andrew wrapped this story up. It's elegant and karmically correct and doing in a way that most shows don't ever get the chance to do, to work with Kim and finish the story up with Madison, maybe. I don't know what I'm allowed to say. it feels special and it feels complete and it's really elegant and beautifully done. And to have the personal journey that you have with this amount of time on a show, it's really nice to feel that the fans' journey is the same completion. It feels really great.
Yeah, because I hope people really do understand that, you know, the performers, the creators, the crew, the directors, everyone really lives with this show. I mean, I think it's easy to forget sometimes that there are human beings on the other side of the screen who become very attached, and it becomes a part of their personal experience because they live it so much for so long that it probably does it for, you know, for everyone. Did it sort of feel? Have you resolved it yet, or do you still feel like you've got to still kind of process that it's done, or will you do that? What do you think?
We talk about that all the time, even as the season was going on, and we couldn't really wrap our heads around the idea that this was the end of it. And we still don't feel like it is. We're still really holding on. And it's really nice to experience it through moments like this, and as we watch it. You know, that we're very excited the show is going to be premiering soon, and we'll get to live and explore it through that also. But I think it's hard to just let go. It truly is, for a lot of reasons. We love the people we work with, but we love the characters so much, and we've been so engrossed in their lives, and it's been a part of ours. So it's, yeah, it definitely takes some time.
Just in the last few days, I sent June to a vacation cabana.
You don't know either.
Yeah, I had to like send her off.
Yeah, it is. But even so, like 8 seasons of a show is incredible. Especially now, it just feels like it's harder and harder to keep shows on the air for longer and longer. That it really is. And I would always say that with The Walking Dead and Talking Dead, it's like we're in bonus territory. It's like it's such rarefied television air, you know, to get to exist in this space and to get to, after years and years and years, come out and see fans and see the show still alive because y'all keep it alive. And, you know, and I know that from my perspective too, I really appreciate that. Getting back to the sort of the Morgan of it all though, Kim, obviously Morgan knew Alicia quite well, but his first introduction to Madison was shaky at best. So can you talk about sort of navigating their path forward together a little bit, and how will these two characters like find trust possibly?
You know, I mean, just you asked me the question, I started to think about Lenny, and you say trust, and that is part of the thing we missed, is that we're out there together doing these things and we trust each other so much. And this guy, I want to just address what you were saying a minute ago. He honors our characters. I mean, that's his goal every single moment, is to honor these characters and honor the story. It's so beautiful to be a part of it, and I was excited to come back to see everybody because I'm not ready to let it go. It's intense when you create so much and trust so much together, and it's a really special experience. But that aside, so I met Morgan, and we roughed each other up a bit. But then at that moment when he sees the tattoos and realizes who Madison is, that is a profound moment for Madison. And that kind of snaps her out of things at the end of season 7. So I think what I learned from working with Lenny and Madison and Morgan together is that almost like Morgan's like Lenny, like you see him and you feel that heart and that complexity, and you don't know exactly what's happened, but you know something's happened and he's doing the best he can, you know what I mean? And I think that just sort of switches Madison. She sees that, she can't help but see that. You know, maybe that's the counselor that she used to be. So I think he awakens in her, you know, the reality of her having had children and what she was and what she wanted to be, and she corrects her course.
Yeah, and Morgan's journey also, and we've talked about this a lot on Talking Dead too. He's had so many different paths along his journey to get to where he is now that I feel like is a very realistic interpretation of if you were survive apocalypse, you'd try this, and then you would try this, and you'd get, but ultimately it's just about, you know, how do you survive moment to moment, and he's changed and adapted and grown so much along that path. And obviously he couldn't be here, but Lenny did send along, Lenny's calling in right now. I think there's a call coming in, and the caller ID says Lenny James, I think. Can we bring that call up?
Hello, WonderCon 2020. I just wanted to say how sorry I am that I can't be with you this weekend. I hope you're all having a fantastic time, and I hope that you all enjoy our final season of Fear the Walking Dead. It has been a pleasure from beginning to end to be a part of this crew and company, and we are very proud of our final season, of being able to tell the end of our story in the way that we wanted to tell it. I hope you enjoy it. I also wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you to all of you fans for your commitment, your support, and your loyalty. It has meant the world to me personally, and it has meant the world to us as a group within this universe. You're the reason we do it, and we're glad to do it for you. You are very much appreciated. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Jenna, we talked a little bit about approaching this season, but can we talk a little bit about what June's storyline can you tease anything about where, you know, what might be happening in season 8?
It's a June you've not seen before. That's what I got very excited when I mentioned the time jump. She's gone really dark. She's had, you know, betrayal's the worst, right? When you open yourself up and you're doing everything you can to be the best version, to contribute, to help, and that help is manipulated and betrayed, it tangles your soul in a way with the most amount of pain. Even small betrayals in our life, but this is... So we find her kind of in that space, and she's rogue and gone dark and needs to find her way back. But the beautiful thing in these stories is when the characters hit bottom and they need to find their way back, some beautiful things start to come in for them. And you get to watch that journey of, you know, them sort of being pulled out of the chaos and the sewage and finding their way back to who they are somehow. And I love the story this year. I love it so much. I'm so excited for everyone to see it. And you know, a big part of when we were filming, and Christina and I, we would talk about this, you know, we had these huge, very intense days of filming, very heavy emotions. And it's very hard to go back to the hotel and just get in your bed and go to sleep after you've been in this headspace. It's like when you guys are watching, you're in that space with us. You know, it's a very similar like intensity, but for like 14 hours of the day. And a huge part of, we would go home and we would just, or at the hotel and just sit outside and we would have to just talk about it to like get it out and process it. Both the day and the fact that this was the end.
Sort of like a Talking Dead type experience.
Yes. Where were you? Like the actor version.
Talking Dead and also cast member therapist as well.
Yeah, totally. But
I couldn't survive in the apocalypse, but I could come sit on a couch and talk to you about what you did in the apocalypse. That would be my function.
It was a process the whole time, and I had moments of feeling really weird and sad, and you know, I'm living in June's space, I'm living in actor space, you know, but it was so lovely to get to know Christina and have this time together. We just found ourselves at the hotel, getting each other through with lots of talking.
Lots of talking.
Lots of
I think that was one of the best parts of relocating to Savannah. We're in this new place, and most of us are living in the same area, and you know, we just hang out with each other all the time, and we choose to, and I think that's really special.
It's different than when you're on set, because you're at work, but when you come home, you need to process, and it can be very lonely. My husband and my children are not the ones to hear all of my yap about my process. You know what I mean? Like, and you can't talk to anybody about it because it's confidential. It actually becomes quite lonely sometimes, this process. And you can't talk to anybody, and it's super intense. So it was really lovely friendships were made through that whole process.
But also you're spending all day long, multiple hours a day, in challenging environments, scooping literally every bit of emotion and soul that you have out, and then what are you left with when you come back? I mean,
The doorman saying, "Welcome back, Miss Elfman." You're like, I still have like blood and dirt.
and Kim, have you, through your work, are there ways that you're able to like leave the work at the door? Like, how do you sort of, especially on a show like this, come back and decompress?
Yeah, I've gotten so that I can leave it. I do a lot of prep work where I sort of beat out the script to all the different beats and the emotional beats and the places I have to go to, and I figure out, my personalizations for that, and I sort of memorize that with it, so that, because you have to work quickly on our show. You have to grab this stuff has to come up quickly, the intense, it's high stakes, and that's life or death most of the time. So you're operating in this place where you have to really bring the truth to dire situations, and you have to do it quickly. So it takes a lot of preparation work. And I think for me, I'm excited to do the work, and then it's okay, I'm done, and I can get in the van and Coleman and I would be talking, and we go to dinner, or we do our laundry together. We weren't, it's like you don't get tired of each other. You kind of need each other, and that's the way you transition out of it. I think.
Christine, the last time we saw Sherry, she was pregnant. So what do you think is going through her mind as she gets on the boat at the end of season 7?
I think Sherry and Dwight are always looking for a safe haven. And now that they are bringing a child into this world, they really need to be sure that they're in an environment that is the best option that they could think of at the time. And at the time it was. And it was an unknown, traveling to Padre, and nobody knew what would unfold there. But I think in her mind, she's really thinking from a very maternal point of wanting to give her child the best possible life in this very dark world. And it's getting on the boat, I think, is really just an act of faith and hope, and that'll be what they need. And I think as it unfolds, when they get there, time passes, that the sacrifice that they made that day to go there was far too great, and it really changed the course of their life. And that's when they're faced with the decision of making another change or not. And that's sort of like, that really is the catalyst for this season.
We still have some time left in the panel, but just because we couldn't for Dead City, but if we have a couple of questions, if people do want to ask a couple of questions, we certainly can, we certainly don't have to. Sort of moving forward, Michael, because you've been involved in so many different facets of the Walking Dead universe, can you touch upon a little bit at the beginning, but how does, every show has its own personality and its own identity. So how do you think of fear, and how do you see it? What facet within the Walking Dead universe do you believe it holds?
Well, all the shows, they just need to have their own distinct identity outside of each other. Obviously the common thread is the apocalypse and all of the struggles and then the humanity that comes with everything, and playing with evolution. Personally, each show that I've done has been more of a personal journey for me, because it's been a different point in time in my career with different creative possibilities and challenges. For fear, it's always been about story. It's always been about creating a kind of selfless environment, and bringing the people that we create with into a selfless environment, so that we can make it story first, and then it does reinvent itself every season. That's something that we've always been really cognizant of trying to, even throughout the half seasons, trying to reinvent it, to keep it fresh, to give it a new look, and then hopefully have stories and settings that that allow us to change the looks and to keep developing it and keep it fresh. Obviously, going back into Savannah of it all in season 8. That was pretty impressive, and and really exciting to be able to be a part of, to try to design the reinvention. It was much easier, to tell you the truth, even though it was very difficult. It was easier to know that we were going to be able to do something completely different, sitting in the lowlands of the East Coast, and then a lot of the other set pieces that I probably can't talk about.
And I will say too that Andrew and I are so lucky that we got to create the template for the show starting in season 4 with Mikey, because Mikey, we were huge fans of his from his work on Walking Dead, and I told him this in a tearful moment after we wrapped, but I'll say it again, which is I have learned more about filmmaking from you over the course of this show than I ever could have dreamt possible, and I know Andrew feels the same way. So. Yes, please.
But I literally am a product of all the amazing people that I'm surrounded by. So, yeah, I love you.
Did we have any questions? Were there a couple of questions from the audience? Well, I think yes, and then we have a question up here up front too. But we'll bring the microphone over for you. Yes.
Hi. Question is, since in the past some actors have directed a few episodes, while other actors have directed outside of a show, how often do any actors give directing advice to whoever's directing a certain episode?
That's a very good question.
Did you get the algorithm?
I haven't had that pleasure, but I think the unique thing of television is that nobody knows their character better than themselves. So I think there's always a unique way that as guest directors come in that we all look out and to protect the show and what the show is and what the characters are. And I think there's a crossover, but there's, I think we've always been very lucky to have amazing directors that nobody has to tell them how to direct.
Wonderful. Thank you for your question. Do we have a wireless microphone that we can bring up to the front?
Hi. So I've been a big fan of Fear the Walking Dead since the beginning. Saw every panel since 2018, which was my first WonderCon, and so happy to be here for the end. And my question concerns Charlie for the final season. And I know Madison doesn't really know that Charlie was the one who killed Nick and later became... Right. But later she becomes like the adopted daughter for Alicia. And I just want to know, how would Madison feel about that relationship once she actually sees Charlie?
That is a great question, and you should definitely watch season 8.
That's the best question I've ever heard that I can't answer.
Specific ones are tough.
That nobody can answer.
Yes.
Good question.
I don't know if the microphone. What is your name and question?
My name is Susie, and my question is for Jenna. You're so good in fear.
Thank you.
Do you ever, when you're doing your lines in fear, think proper when you're coming, when in the line in a funny way?
Oh, that's a great question. So Susie up front was asking Jenna because Jenna is an amazing comedic performer as well. I mean, Jenna really can do everything. The first time I met you was you did a podcast with me I don't know, maybe 10 or 11 years ago, and it was so much fun. You're so funny, and I was so excited when you texted me. You're like, I'm going to be on Fear the Walking Dead. I was so excited for you. So this is a great question, Susie. The sort of balancing between the comedy. Do you drift into the comedy? Is it separate? How do you see the two?
Very separate. It's like two different portals. The kinesiology, the spirituality mentally on a character, the physicality, it's night and day, two different worlds for me. So when I started on Fear, I actually had to just park my entire orientation to comedy away and just open myself up to a new world. And it was had a very intense learning curve. I had done drama before, but not something like this. This was they take you back the scruff of the neck and shut you underwater, and you're like, ah. So it's been a very dynamic, fulfilling, and every moment. He's my anchor, Mr. Michael Satrazemis. He's my everything. He gave me the faith in myself and kept me believing in my ability as an artist, and I'm forever grateful.
Jenna was born to do heavy, dramatic material, and watching her get a chance to grab a hold of it and succeed like that is really special. But it's always been in there. She just got the opportunity here.
That is a wonderful point too about the, yes, absolutely. It isn't just drama, it's like running drama. It's not like you're in an office going, you'll never take over this company. You know, it's like, it's you're running through environments and swinging weapons and getting rained on, and it's, I must feel like, I'd be surprised if there wasn't like acting classes for action now, because there's so much genre television. I guess for Kim and for Christine, just kind of opening up a little bit, does this kind of like action drama, is it more fun, you know? Do you prefer it, or do you prefer the more like, you're in one location and it's like just drama?
I like the action and the challenge of it, and the choreography of it, and I mean, even like when we have so many props and weapons and things, and walkies and guns and weapons and babies, and you know, you got a lot of, it's like...
And alligators.
And alligators.
Alligators, no one misses those.
Yeah. So you got, you know, you got to make it look like they're a part of your body, and I like that. I mean, that's like a new tool that we all have in our profession, because I've seen some, you know, people really stumble over one prop because it's not easy. But so that's been, I think all the action, all that stuff has given us just more to our resume, really, and I like that, and so much so that I see like, oh, I have dialogue scenes.
Yeah, I think the challenge of it all just makes me inhabit the body of the character, and this is certainly my first super physical character that I ever played, and I love it. I mean, you could ask Mikey, anytime there's a stunt scene, I'm like, give me more, who can I kill? It's really exciting, but it just, all of that stuff just keeps your adrenaline pumping so much, and it just makes you embody the character even more. It's certainly been, I think, my favorite part of working on the show.
Yes, we have another audience question. What is your name?
My name is Joseph.
Hi.
I've been watching the Walking Dead series, Walking Dead Beyond and Fear the Walking Dead, and I can't wait to see Walking Dead Dead City. I have a question about Morgan. Is Morgan going to protect his family from the walkers?
Yes, I would say.
If I know
Morgan is one of the best walker killers in the universe, and we're gonna see that on full display in season 8. You know, and I think Morgan's got it handled with the walkers for the most part. The people are a different thing, and Morgan's got a lot of inner turmoil going on.
It does, and actually, it's a really good question too, because Morgan, he went through that period where it was like, he was super zen, he didn't want to, you know, like, he was just communing with nature, and he had all the Eastman stuff, and, you know, and so he really has had, I think it's a good question, because it just, again, it speaks to what I was saying earlier about how he's had this real journey with life and death, and who is he in this world, and how does he navigate it, and can you, even though you know it's necessary sometimes to protect yourself and your family and your community, how do you reconcile, you know? It's just, especially when we get so conditioned on shows, it's like, oh, people are just casually killing things, you know, so is he able to reconcile that this season?
Well, I think, you know, a visual way that you really can see Morgan's evolution on the show is his weapon. You know, when he was with Eastman, he started with the fighting stick. He learned Aikido. Starting in season 6, that stick broke. And on one side is the sharpened stick, and on the other is the axe, the weapon we affectionately refer to as the stacks, which kind of represents these two sides of Morgan, which are you know, there is still the peaceful warrior Morgan, but there is also a man who's realized what he has to do to protect the people he cares about. And that's a really cool and interesting duality to that character. And by the way, the stacks was Lenny's idea. So give credit where credit is due to have those two ends embodying the different evolutions of Morgan.
Wonderful. Thank you for your question. And for the AMC executives who are here, they're very excited to hear that you watch all the shows. That was very good. Back then, you're like, see, this is good. Glad we're doing all these. I think we have time for one more question, and then we have a couple, because I want to save some time to show some other things. Yes, what is your name and question?
Hello, my name is Valentino. My question is, will we see The Walking Dead in other parts of the world?
Will we see The Walking Dead in other parts of the world?
I really wish Scott Gimple was here. Should we call him?
Yeah, let's call him.
But Scott Gimple's the best with the non-answer, though. Well, we might see different types of foliage, and, you know, like, just what is it? But we know we are because we know that Norman is shooting this show. I don't know where the Rick and Michonne show takes place, but it's probably in a different place. Yes, so, no, I think we're going to answer that question first. He was asking about different environments, and then I'm going to go to this last question over here.
Yes, I mean, just in the panel before this, we see Dead Cities in a different environment, the Rick and Michonne show will be in a different environment, and of course, the Daryl show as well. And, you know, it's a universe that is constantly expanding and reinventing itself, so, yeah.
Great. I think I saw one final hand go up over here. Do we have a question over here? Oh, I don't know if there's a roving microphone, so I'll come over so I can. Can you turn this microphone? Hello? I can.
Here, you want mine?
Yeah. The actors have been on, Jesus. The actors have been on Walking Dead. Wonderful, yeah. So just as we're, before we get to some of the things that we brought to show, I think this is a great way to start to wrap up this portion of the panel is, just talking about your experiences on the show. First from Michael as a director, and then from Kim and Jenna and Christine as performers.
Yeah, I mean, working with the actors, especially talented actors like this, and heavy content is such a heavy content, heavy story show that the things that you have to ask from these human beings, these beautiful human beings, is really tough. And there has to be a level of trust and care, and it works both ways. You know, we have to trust each other, and we have to care about each other. The things that are asked, the amount of stamina that it takes to be a professional actor in this environment is unlike any others. It's a stamina of heavy emotions that you have to sustain for 12 hours, and then I'm still going to press, and I'm still going to ask for more. The action, the physical requirements, what it takes is kind of almost humanly impossible, although it's been possible for a long time. The preparation that they have to have, they say they're talking about going home and chatting, and it sounds like they're having nice time, but it's not. It's probably about 20 minutes of decompression time, and then right back into the dialogue, and right back into the next day's work. And then when they arrive on set, they're working with their 17 props and trying to work things out. And then I'm saying, oh yeah, but we're gonna really do, I know what that said, but we're gonna do this for this action bit, and we're gonna sweep this out. It's insane. And it is such a special experience that you get to have with another human being. And I get those emotions. They're free for me. I get to feel all of these things without living the scars of life that have to do it. Watch a lie become the truth. There's not another thing that I have in my life that represents that kind of experience. I mean, I do have a family that I love very much. So
yeah. Family, kids, life, you know, it's all
love you. I love you.
Taps your life.
You know, yeah. But it is so unique and so special, and it is so little to do with glamour and all of this, which is really special and amazing. It's just that this is a byproduct of what we do. It's an experience like no other. I was born to do this. It is more rewarding than anything, and I can't even begin to tell you how much I love these people and what we've gotten to do. And I'm just looking for another story, so if you have a script that would get us all going together.
Kim, what about you? What's been your experience?
Well, I feel all those things, and I feel like that being part of the Walking Dead universe and being on Fear the Walking Dead has been a profound experience in my life. It has changed me. I've grown through it. I feel blessed to be a part of it. I really do, and I feel like, you know, my career started a long time ago, and I felt like everything I'd done, every class I'd taken, every job I'd done, every table I waited on, led me to play Madison in season 1. And thank you for being part of it. This has been the icing on the cake, this connection. So that's what it's been for me.
Jenna, what about you?
Everything Kim and Michael said, it is one of the most, you know, look, when I was doing comedy, and I was doing Dharma and Greg, and that is the, but that was stimulating and thrilling in its own, it has its own gift. And this is like the 3D IMAX version of stimulation. It really is transformative, and then getting to share the emotions and journey. It's very intimate, what we go through with these characters. It's so intimate, and then to have you guys feel these characters yourselves from your own point from which you view the story, and to then, for everything we went through to bring the story to you, which is so deep and so many people involved on a day-to-day basis, then for you guys to watch you go through the emotions through this two-dimensional screen and feel alive and be connected to your own stories and reignite your own humanity in you and your own emotions, and to be part of that with you has been such an honor for me. So it's like nice to meet you and thank you, because I do feel all of you in my cells when I'm filming, because I know you are why we are doing this, and I'm away from my children, and I love my character, and you have been so welcoming and so lovely and appreciating the stories. So it's been 360 lovely, so thank you.
Beautiful. And then Christine.
That was great, Jenna. I said that, and everything you guys said, really beautiful, but it's true. I'm so grateful for my experience on the show, for connecting the two worlds, The Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead. That was extraordinary for me. And what that did for me creatively and as a person also, I think playing Sherry, man, the level of resiliency that I have grown within myself from playing a woman like her. And it really does all go back to what the show connects. And unlike any show I've ever worked on, the Walking Dead universe really connects with you guys. And I think that has been one of the most beautiful parts of this all for me, and connecting with people from so many different backgrounds and genders and races, and we could all find these really wonderful common denominators through each other. And it's just the real crux of what these stories represents that really resonates with both of us. And so I have to say, it's truly the love and the resiliency that I've gotten so much from playing this character, and I'm really grateful for it, really.
Yeah, oh, wonderful. I mean, and that was a perfect last question for the panel, and I want to thank you for your last question. I'm so glad, because it landed everything so beautifully. So thank you for your wonderful last question. We have a couple of things to show you. First of all, he was mentioned a couple times in the panel. Como Domingo is one of my favorite people in the world. Literally, just masterful at everything he does. He's one of the most incredible writer, performer, director. I just adore him. And he sent a video along because unfortunately he was not able to be here. So I would love to play this video from the wonderful Como Domingo.
Hello, Fear fans. I can't wait to share the final season of Fear the Walking Dead. It's been such an incredible journey. And I know you're there with some of our comrades who I love so dearly. I think we made something really special for the fans this year. So I can't wait for you to see what Victor Strand's been up to, as well as these other merry band of wonderful, wonderful characters. Take care. Bye.
Really quickly, anything we can tease about Victor Strand in this? Obviously, he's lost the thing that he always wanted, which was to have this, you know, like where he was with the building and everything. So what do we see of him that you can tease going forward?
Two things I can tease about Strand are, one, he may have the most drastic reinvention of any character on the show.
Okay.
When we meet him. So expect a big change from what we've seen before, and then the other is, you know, as you mentioned, Strand went down a very dark path in season 7 with who he became in that tower, and he's dug a deep hole for himself, and this season is going to be about whether he can redeem himself for everything that he did.
So I am going to show you, I tried to keep a little bit of time at the end. We have the opening minutes of the first episode of Fear. Again, this is a please don't film this and put it online kind of a thing. Before I show this, Ian, any last things that you want to say to the WonderCon audience, you know, for this last season, your time on the show, all that?
Just, you know, speaking on behalf of Andrew and myself, unbelievable amount of gratitude to all of you for your support, your love, and your passion for this show. It means the world to us. You are the best fans in the world, and we are so excited to share this conclusion season, and thank you for sticking with us and for being so wonderful all these years, and you're the best. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so, seasons. I didn't have gray hair when the show started. I got gray hair now. What the hell? No, man. Getting older sucks. My knees hurt. I can't see, I have to wear contacts now. Like everything.
You're a dad?
I know. What if they just turned it up and just complaining? Getting old sucks. Good night. But it is such a joy to see all of you here, and I'm so excited to share with you the opening minutes of Fear the Walking Dead Season 8. Roll the tape.